Welcome, everybody, to the 2016 edition of the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpasser, and, of course, my co-host, as always, Joe Kelly.
Hey, Mike, what's going on, buddy? I'm excited, man. Excited for New Year. One more preseason game to go, and, we get back down to business, man, and then we finish what we didn't finish last year. So, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the season, man. And, I think, like always, I said it last year and the year before, but I honestly believe that
we keep saying it's going to happen sometime, Joe.
Mike, this is our year, man. This is our year. I honestly believe that in my heart. So, I'm behind the team, man, 100%, man, and, I'm ready to go.
All right, and our special guest tonight, one of the Cincinnati Bengal legend, defensive lineman, Gary Burley.
Hello, Cincinnati and Bengals fans everywhere. It is a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to helping you guys kick off the new season.
All right, we'll start from the top. I mean, last year our biggest concern was the offensive line, especially the depth, Joe. And the offensive line has looked really good, and Russell Bodine looks like he's improved tenfold.
Yeah, look, I think he took a lot of criticism. I think he took a lot of flack last year, but he's always been a solid player. I think he's heard. You do get that point in your career where you got to hear and you got to either go and cut the mustard, man, or they'll find somebody new. The NFL is the logo actually stands for not for long, so. Gary knows about that, it's part of it. We all get replaced. The legends, the Hall of Famers, everybody gets replaced in this business. That's just, that's the nature of the beast. I think we look strong. Our record doesn't indicate that, but look at preseason. All of us who are football people, football guys. No, we don't put a huge emphasis on your record preseason. We looked at what the offense and defense and special teams are doing when they're in. And last week, especially against Jacksonville, I think our offensive line, our offense, defense, our starters, to me, were dominant. And, just so, that first quarter, I was first half, excited about what our team can possibly do this year.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts up front on both sides of the ball. And defensive line-wise, Gary, I mean, there haven't been too many defensive tackles as good as Geno Atkins. And, I mean, it looks like he keeps getting better. You got Carlos Dunlap, who is a top 3, I think, defensive end pass rusher in the league. What's your take on the Bengals defensive line?
Well, I think they have all the pieces in place. Carlos seems to be healthy this year. And the thing that worries me the most is, have they learned anything from that last playoff game? And, we've got the physical talent, but do we have the mental talent to play 60 minutes of football without making mistakes that are going to cost us a game? And last year that game cost us an opportunity to maybe go to the Super Bowl. So that's my only worry about the defensive line and the defense itself, because as I've watched, I've seen a couple of games, and the guys seem like they're all on the same page. They're not making as many mental mistakes as they have in the past. So hopefully that's over.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the big thing right now that has to worry Bengal fans are the injuries. Tyler Eifert might miss the first quarter of the season. William Jackson, of course, the first-round draft pick, who's going to be out maybe for the season, might be back towards the end of the season. But to me, Joe, the big injury here people aren't talking about Cedric Pearman.
Yeah. When you look at the heart and soul of your team, there's always a leader, and it's not necessarily, it's not usually, it doesn't have to be your quarterback, it doesn't have to be your number one receiver. You have the heart and soul of your offense, and that could be an unsung offensive lineman. You look at your defense, and it doesn't always have to be your loud vocal guy. It doesn't have to be Burfict. It doesn't have to be Dunlap. It doesn't have to be Pac-Man. You look at 97. our defense is going to go as 90. 97 is a monster. I'm looking at him, and he looks unblockable. I don't care if every double team, he split them, he's beat them, whatever they've thrown out. I looked at him the week they were practicing against Minnesota, and I think he's even better than he was prior to his injury. But then you look at our special teams. I think Cedric Pearman has been the heart and soul of our special teams, from being on the punt team, the kickoff team, the punt return. You have that guy that the special teams coach looks forward to, getting on the field and making adjustments if there are adjustments to be made. When you look at your defense, usually your middle linebacker and your safety is the one making adjustments and different calls. Look at offense, your quarterback is usually a guy that's making call, and you have maybe an offensive lineman who's maybe calling protection sets and so on and so forth. And same thing comes with special teams. You have that guy who is making calls, who's making adjustments when adjustments are needed to be made. That he's in communication with the coach. When hey coach, hey they're not giving us the same look that we've been working on all week. They're giving us a different look. And Cedric Pearman has been that guy. So even though it's special teams and a lot of people don't understand how important every phase is in the National Football League in order to be a Super Bowl champion. All three phases have to be in line: offense, defense, and special teams. And when they are in line, those are usually the teams that are playing late January, early February. It's going to be a blow, but hopefully we can get someone somewhere that can take his place, because broken forearm that may keep him out for the entire year.
Yeah, and I think the big question on this team coming in probably before training camp, Gary, was probably the wide receivers. What's your take on the wide receivers? I think the Erickson kid has been phenomenal, especially on the return game. I think Cody Core has looked really good blocking. Tyler Boyd looks really good, the second-round pick. Do you think they have enough here to make up for the loss of Sanu and Jones?
Oh, yeah, I think so. You got A.J. Green and the two backup guys. I think they're going to be fine. My question is, how is the quarterback's hand? Is it completely healed? Is it halfway? Is it whatever? I mean, I know he's back in the game, but I haven't heard anybody say anything about it's completely healed yet. Do you guys know anything about that?
But on the other side, Gary, I haven't heard anybody say it wasn't. So,
yeah. But I think you can look at the way he's thrown the ball. I've been down there firsthand in practice when they were scrimmaging against the Vikings, and you see the velocity that is back on his ball. You see, the spiral throws. You see, he's throwing that ball on the line. So, to me, it could be hurting. Gary, I can't remember a game that I played that there wasn't something wrong. Something hurt. Something hurt. And quarterback's a little different. So, I can't say that it's, there's not any pain, but I can see from what I saw, just in the balls that he's thrown, that that hand looks healthy.
Great.
Yeah,
well, I haven't seen it. I haven't had opportunity to see a preseason game yet, and that was the question that I had. So you have answered it for me, Joe. He looks good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he looks like he's ready. I don't think they'd be playing him this much if it wasn't completely healed either, Gary.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think because of how well he's throwing and how well he's looked, you don't have to. Because if you recall last training camp, there was a lot of, chatter about, is A.J. McCarron as good as Andy? Is A.J. McCarron going to, take his job? So on and so forth. And if you notice, it can be subtle, but if you look at it, you don't see the news reporters talking about it. You don't see the news columnists writing about it because I think he's come out, this training camp and this preseason, and he's shown that he is the guy. Because A.J. McCarron is still looking pretty good. He's a solid number 2 guy. Possibly number 1. Down in the future. But I think the way Andy has played thus far, he has stopped those stories from circulating. And to me, that's an attest to the fact that that hand is feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up right there. A.J. McCarron would probably be the starting quarterback for 5 or 6 teams in the NFL at least. So, Gary, I mean, I think that's the big key to the Bengals right now is just the depth on their roster at almost every position.
Exactly.
Well, Marvin's put together the right team. It's taken him a while, and he's put together a team that one guy goes down, as you can see with A.J. coming in after Andy, that's the way it is all the way down the line. The offensive line, the defensive secondary. I'm just excited to see these guys. But, my question is still, have they learned their lesson? Can they play 60 minutes of football without getting the kind of problems that they had in the playoff game? And Joe, that'll haunt you. That'll haunt you a good way or a bad way. So let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, the big question to me is how does Jeremy Hill respond to it? In the preseason, I think he's running the ball between the tackles better than he did last year, Joe.
I agree. You look at him, and I think he may understand his role and his ability, and respecting what his ability is. Because if you look at last year when he came on, he was trying to do a lot of things that he's seen 25 doing. So 25 he's a scat guy. He can he has the speed and quickness to do certain things. And if you notice, a lot of times last year, Jeremy Hill was running east and west. Well, Jeremy Hill, you don't have the speed, quickness, and elusiveness of Giovanni. You're a north and south runner. And I think last year he got caught up into a lot of times trying to make plays east and west. Well, in this league, when you have, Gary, you have defensive tackles running 4.7, 4.6, 4.8. So these guys can catch you going east and west. You're a north and south guy. And I think he understands what his ability is, what he brings. He's special at going north and south, power, speed, and I've seen that. I'm seeing him hitting the holes. I'm seeing him, be more decisive. He sees a crack bow, you hit it. Giovanni can see that crack, but Giovanni has the quickness and the speed to, okay, that may close up real quick. Let me go to the other side. Let me hit the other, the backside. He has that ability. And I think just looking at him, he understands. Let me get this ball north and south. Let's make my yards. And when I'm making 5 yards, and that's what that is. In this play, I go right hard. Hold on to the ball, secure the ball, get back, and hey, second down. And I think he was trying to overreach a lot of times last year, and I think on that unfortunate his last carry, so his last memory of last season was, he was trying to make that extra play and going out, and rather than getting those 5-6 yards, if he got that 5-6 yards and just went down and secured the ball, we're having a different conversation. This beginning of the season, just like as well as our the end of last season would have been different. But I think he's showing professionalism because it's tough. It's tough when you know that you played a viable part in that last minute and 20-second debacle that happened on our home field last year. You have to be a man about it and be able to accept it and be a pro and know that happens. Hey, in this league, I may not even know who the guy is in front of me, don't know his name, but he may kick my ass if I don't come prepared. Because this is the NFL. Everybody's good. Everybody's good, man. You don't have to. I played in games personally next to Hall of Fame guys, and I beat him. I made this play over this guy who's a Hall of Famer. You can't take anybody in this league for granted, man, because everybody's good. If you don't prepare, you'll go through a game like, man, this dude ate my lunch. Who is this guy? Gary, man.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I have had those type of games myself, man, where you feel like, man, I'm giving this guy everything I've got, and he's not bending, So
right.
You have to keep on and be prepared and stay on top of your game and not let him get into your head.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap this part of the show up. Gary, what do you think is the key to the Bengals getting over that hump, and what kind of record do you see them having?
Well, I don't want to go into records yet in the third preseason game, especially since I haven't seen them play. But what I can say is Coach has had a whole off season to let the guys know how close they got to taking it to their goal. And they let simple mistakes, stupid mistakes, I should say, prevent them from taking it to the next level. So my hope for the team is, like I said earlier in the game, that coaches, put it in their minds that, hey, all we got to do is play the type of Bengal football that we can play, and you never know where you're going to end up. But I pray, I guess that's the best word I could use, is that these guys will get to a playoff game and win the playoff game and move forward. And that's the only thing I can say right now. I hope they win the Super Bowl, but right now my goal for them is to get past that first playoff game, get their confidence going, and win.
All right, Joe, what do you think the key to the season is?
You know what? I'm very optimistic about this year. I looking at some of the departures. You look at Sanu and Marvin Jones being going to another team. But then when I look at the plays the kid Boyd is making, Boyd has made me forget about both of them. That's how good I think Boyd has looked.
Well, I think Boyd and Core together could be better than those two.
Oh, yeah.
Without a problem.
Boyd personally, the kid can catch. The kid can maybe he can stretch the field. He makes plays downfield. His hands are incredible. He's made some tough catches, in preseason, and he showed that, he's capable because he's been going against some of the ones. But this is not a kid that's coming in and playing wide receiver in the second half and going up against other rookies and free agents, so on and so forth. This is a kid that's going up against number one corners and has made some plays. I look at the departure of Hugh Jackson. I think that was huge. I was concerned with Zampese running the offense. If he's going to just totally change the whole system of what they were doing, of what has brought this core of guys success, and I don't see a major difference. I see there's some subtle differences, but as a whole, I think he's keeping the core of that scheme together and allowing those guys, because right now, we have shelf lives. Gary, you have a shelf life, man. You can your first 4, 5, 6 years, you probably run. You don't need sleep. Then you get when you start getting up there in age, your body changes. You may get a little slower, you may get a little heavier. But right now, where this core, the core of the offense, where they are, these guys are they're at a peak of their ability. So when I look at that, then when I look on the defensive side, it's the same thing. Marvin and the Browns have put together a unit, and surprisingly, Mike has allowed Marvin to put together and keep these core guys, which, Gary and I knew that, hey, that wasn't something that the Bengals were used to doing. You have these core guys. They didn't always keep their core guys. Guys got traded and, cut whatever, because of money or whatever it was. But you see lately, the last couple of years, they're signing their core guys. Even though here they paid Dunlap a huge salary, they paid Atkins a huge salary. They brought back Michael Johnson at a nice salary. And usually, the Bengals of old would have paid one defensive line, and then it would have been bargain basement everywhere else because they want to pay everybody else. So when you look at what they've done and what they've assembled, and the fact that I think a crucial addition is Jim Haslett. And I played for Haslett in '93 when I started middle linebacker for the Raiders. He's coming in, and I think he's a perfect kind of guy that can coach Burfict. And he's a perfect kind of guy that I think Burfict will respect, and he will have to respect this guy because Haslett has had the same success, if not more success, as Burfict has enjoyed his first couple of years in the league. So here's a guy who was a player. He's been a head coach, been a coordinator. He's a linebacker coach now. I think because when you look at the immaturity, the immature things that we did as a unit, as a team, Pac-Man and Burfict, specifically with the things that happened in that playoff game, I think that he's a guy that we can corral this guy. And when I say corralling, I don't say, hey, he's going to change Burfict. Burfict he's going to allow Burfict to be who he is. But at the same time, it's with controlled aggression, controlled rage. So what line not to cross. And I think in the same time, you have those guys maturing. Because you get older as a player, you get wiser, you mature, and the ones that don't, get wiser and don't mature, those are the guys that find themselves on the way out of the league. And I think, overall, I'm just excited, if not more excited this year as I was last year, So I'm looking for, like Gary said, I don't want, look at records, but what I do say is that I think that we're going to win our division. I think we're definitely going to get over the hump of winning a playoff game. But I think this team is even looking past that. They're not even looking at, I want to win the playoff game. These guys want to go to the Super Bowl. And I see it, I can hear it, I heard it. Then when I was down there the week of the scrimmage with the Vikings, and you can see it and kind of get that feeling. But at the end of the day, it still has to be done, every Sunday. I think these guys, this core guys, are capable and physically able to be in contention for a Super Bowl run.
All right, guys. We will be back after a short commercial message with Patty Collins, the wife of legendary, I guess he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was elected there, I think, in the mid-'90s, Bootsy Collins. But Bootsy Collins' wife, Patty Collins, will be back with us after the break. So make sure you listen in.
This is former All-Pro Leon Searcy. I've got a new interactive app called Gridiron Mode, where you get to call the plays, offense or defense, and a live NFL game. You get to interact with other fans, pick the play, pick the call. That's Gridiron Mode.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Cincinnati Bengals weekly show, the preview edition with myself, Gary Burley, Joe Kelly, as always. Gary, we've got a special guest in here today. You want to introduce her and let her tell us about her new app?
Oh, yes, I'd love to. Ladies and gentlemen of Cincinnati and surrounding areas, Peppermint Patty Collins, wife of Bootsy Collins, is on the line, and she's going to talk about United Games. Patty?
Well, hello, everyone. I would say, yeah, but that's my husband, so I'll keep it simple. Well, have you heard about United Games? Well, if you haven't, I'm going to give you a little info. United Games is getting ready to launch a new sports app this fall shortly after the beginning of the NFL season. The game is a points-for-prizes-based game. It's not gambling, so that means ladies out there, 13 and older with your teenage children, can play the game. And it's a wonderful game because we can sit around the dinner table and we can watch the Bengals play the Steelers or whomever they're playing, and we can actually interact with one another. So, like, let's say the game is up on the screen, and I'll say, Joey, I think that Andy Dalton is going to throw 2 touchdowns in this game. And if I get that right, then I gain personal points. And those personal points will help me maybe buy through the point system, I can maybe buy a Bengal hat, or I can even save my points. And when the Bengals go to the Super Bowl, yes, that's what I said. When the Bengals go to the Super Bowl.
When they win the Super Bowl, Patty.
When they win the Super Bowl, that's even better. We could actually be there at that game because that could be our prize that we win from the United Games. This is such a super wonderful game. The folks that made the John Madden football game, the Tiger Woods golf, and the NASCAR video games are all a part of the development of United Games. This is something that's going to launch in October. So I encourage you to look out, listen for this game because it's going to be one of the most exciting games on the planet. Don't you agree, Gary?
Well, Patty, as you know, once you told me about the idea, the concept, I fell in love with it and I wanted to know how I could get involved. And you were kind enough to let me get involved, and now I am ready to rock and roll.
Rock and roll. So, yeah, we're all excited. Gary and I are currently affiliates. Affiliates mean that we are on the ground floor. We're like the founders of this game. So as we share it with others, it has such a great opportunity for being a lucrative possibility for all of us. So all I can say to you, if anyone comes and knocks on your door or sends you an email and says, do you know anything about United Games? Be sure to click on that button and want to know more. Right, Gary?
That's what you need to do.
Okay. So we thank you for your time. Remember, United Games is coming soon.
Well, hey, thanks, Patty, for coming on the
You're
show.
welcome.
Really appreciate it. Also, would love to have your husband on the Bengals Weekly Show with me and Joe sometime, talk a little Bengals football.
Absolutely. We'll make that happen. We're like such big, big fans. So hit me
So
up.
any new Bengals songs coming out this year?
You know, we're kind of waiting to see if anybody comes knocking on Bootsy's studio door down in the Boot Cave to see if they'd like to come down and record with him. So, you know, it's all possible.
Well, me and Joe could come down and sing.
Well, please.
Well, Patty, he's talking about himself. So
no, I'm not. I was talking more about Joe. I can't sing, Joe. I was hoping you could.
More about
well, you know what? I did have a little small claim to fame. I was on that 89 Super Bowl Who They Rap. You know, I did have one verse. So, you know, I dabbled with my music career for about 15 seconds and realized that was enough.
Come on, you guys just had Mike Martin sing over top of you because he could sing.
Yeah, Mike can sing. Mike is
sing.
Musically talented. Yes.
Yeah, Mike. That was the one win on Super Sunday at halftime. He won the talent show, or pregame he won the talent show.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike can sing.
Amazing. See what we can do when we put our minds to it?
That's right. That's right.
But, hey, thanks again for coming in, Patty.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a great evening.
All right.
Okay,
you too.
Patty. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, that wraps up the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show. For Joe Kelly, Gary Burley, I'm Mike Goodpasser. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.